Hey, I'm going to go through some reels with you guys, and this isn't a fearmonger or anything like this. I just want to go through these reels because I know you're seeing them too, and I like to get an understanding of how this all started, but I'm not letting it bring me down or suck my energy away. I'm still grounded in trying to figure out my path and my authenticity. But sometimes you want to walk and talk about these reels with somebody who you know thinks the similar way that you do, that we are souls, that this is an experience, and that we live forever. So, with that being said, let's get into it. All right, guys, what is going on? Man, there's so many reels that I just want to put together and be like, guys, look at this. This is crazy type of thing. So you heard my disclaimer in the beginning about fear, and it's so hard to know where to start. So I decided to go back to about 1913 and kind of show you where some of this deception really started to take place. And then we'll kind of fast forward through the years to the 1970s. You guys like what I do and what this is all about, then I'll try to put another one together for you. I believe that the manipulation of the New World Order and everything started more in the late 1700s, and they've kind of been recycled through the families of control. But they didn't have the control like they did now back then. It's taken a while to grow this control. And I think a big shift started in 1913. So let's get into it.
1913 Federal Reserve, 1913 IRS, Income Tax, 1913 the Rockefeller Foundation, 1913 American Cancer Society, 1913 ADL, 1913 Warburg, linked to Rothschilds, installs central banking, 1914 World War I, all in 1 year.
And right before that was the Flexner report in like 1910 that basically said all of the Eastern medicine was woo-woo and they had to follow the Rockefeller School of Medicine.
Coincidence or installation, 1912, the Titanic sinks. On board were John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus. All wealthy, all opposed the creation of the central bank. J.P. Morgan owned the ship. He canceled last minute. They didn't. The resistance sank. The system rose. 1913, the Fed's created. Not federal, no reserves. Private banking cartel now controls America's money. They print, they lend, you owe. The US dollar became a tool and your time became their interest. Warburg and Rothschild influence. Warburg wrote the Fed plan. The German Jewish banker tied to the Rothschild network met in secret at Jekyll Island with Morgan, Aldrich, and others. He didn't just suggest the Fed, he engineered it. Then he became one of its governors. 1913, the Fed is born. The same year they take over money, they start taxing your income. You work, they print, you pay them back with interest. It's not about funding government, it's about keeping you in the system. 1913, the Rockefeller Foundation. The oil kings go philanthropic. The Rockefeller Foundation begins reshaping medicine, science, education, and world health. They didn't donate money, they bought influence. And the result? People are more independent and sicker than ever. 1913, the American Cancer Society. Bought by elite wealth, marketed as charity, but tied to the same forces, pushing patented drugs, industrial food, beer, and chemotherapy, which came from war chemicals later banned in war. They built the cancer industry, they didn't build a cure. 1913, the ADL, positioned as a civil rights group, but now functions to censor speech, shape narratives, and silence critics. It protects the system, not the people. 1913 was global positioning. Everything was set for World War I. 1914. World War I becomes the first industrialized banker-backed world war. And who profits? The same families who now print the money. And so the old pattern begins. Problem, reaction, profit. What changed since 1913? Well, since then, the dollar lost 99% of its value. Debt became endless. Middle class was squeezed. War became constant. And global banking expanded. And the people lost power. And the system gained it. It was a quiet installation. No shots fired. No rebellion. Just legal paperwork, lobbying, and legislation. The greatest legal grab in modern history didn't need guns, just silence and strategy. People don't know this because the people who rewrote the system also funded the schools, own the publishers, control the media, and divide the masses. They don't bury the truth, they simply never teach it. They give you their version of history. This is the system we still live in today. Every crisis, every war, every crash is built on the same system that was born in 1913. The Feds print, the IRS collects, foundations guide policy, NGOs shape opinion, and you stay distracted. The world didn't change in 2020 or 2001 or 1945. A big shift happened in 1913, and most people never noticed. What looked like progress was a takeover. A new system was installed, and you were born into it.
And I mean, that was a lot of information really quickly, but yeah, that's kind of when it all started to take shape.
Stewie, what are the odds that the Titanic, the richest ship ever built, sinks on its first voyage with 3 of the loudest opponents?
Feels weird listening to Peter Griffin give me my information, but I thought this was a quick synopsis of. I even have a video on my other channel about this is the dark truth. It's got a picture of J.P. Morgan's face on there, where they have just for decades silenced anybody who is opposed them, who talks back to them, and also silences anybody who creates anything that benefits society and takes away from their money.
Of the Federal Reserve on board?
Oh boy, here we go again. It was an iceberg, Peter, not a conspiracy.
Really? Then why did J.P. Morgan, the owner of the Titanic, cancel his trip at the last second?
Maybe he was scared of sailing?
Nah, he was too busy meeting with the Rothschilds in Europe.
Coincidence?
Same coincidence that 3 of the wealthiest anti-bank elites, John Jacob Astor, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus, all died on the ship.
Wait, all 3 were against the Federal Reserve?
Loudly. Astor funded Nikola Tesla and spoke against centralized banking. Guggenheim had investments threatened by the banking cartel. Strauss opposed private control over the U.S. currency.
But how could someone guarantee they'd die?
That's the thing. The Titanic wasn't just any ship. It had less than half the lifeboats needed, no red distress flares, and crew members never trained for evacuation.
It was called unsinkable, right?
Exactly. So unsinkable that it broke in half from a single impact. And the rescue ship Carpathia just happened to be ready, with Morgan's friends on board.
You're saying it was a hit job?
I'm saying it was a reset, because 1 year later, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law. No opposition, no delay.
Dude, that's cold.
Colder than the North Atlantic. They didn't just kill passengers. They killed resistance and birthed a private banking empire that still runs the world today.
And nobody noticed?
They did. But guess what happened? Newspapers, owned by Morgan and friends, called it a tragedy, buried the questions, and turned it into a sob-story about love and loss.
Like the movie?
Exactly. The movie made you cry over a couple, so you'd never ask who sunk the ship. Follow for more hidden truths and comment for more conspiracies like this.
Can we give it up for one of the OG psyops, the moon landings? Because the fact anybody still believes this needs to be talked about. None of this was real.
I like this one too, because when you listen to Darius, he talks about the moon isn't a physical place. So that means that they couldn't have landed there, which means that this was just a huge psyop. And once he breaks down all the information, it kind of makes more sense. At the same time, if you're not on board with believing all this stuff, that's totally fine. You do not have to be on my same page. That's completely fine. I try to talk to my mom about this, and she's not ready to see it for the way I'm telling it to be. But you don't need to argue with your friends about it. You don't need to go ruffle feathers. This is just kind of a personal interest for you to kind of know the truth.
It was all fantasy. And we haven't been back to the moon because we never went. They sold us spacecrafts made of aluminum foil, curtain rods, cardboard cutouts, and lots of tape.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that picture. Like, how did it...
Like, I know tape when I see it, and that's tape. And then they somehow managed to fit a remote control car inside and told us 3 Freemasons play golf on the moon.
Freemason.
And even to this day, we are being sold PS2 graphics of the moon, and people still buy them as fact. NASA has countlessly outed themselves to the public that they never went to the moon.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know.
Buzz has had a change of heart in his consciousness. It's like he wants to yell it from the rooftops, so he just does it through these cryptic messages and cryptic talks.
Because we didn't.
They lost the technology to go back to the moon.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Come on. Really? You lost the technology. My ass.
That they even faked going entirely.
I remember my parents waking me up, and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon.
No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation.
No, but what we saw was we all were gathered around the old curved top radio and listened.
Talking about how many feet we were going to the left and right, and then I said contact light, engine stop, and a few other things, and then Neil said, Houston, Tranquility Base, the Eagle has landed. Man, how about that?
That was very exciting.
Not a bad line.
Now, according to NASA, they lost all the data from all the Apollo missions. All of it. The telemetry data, the schematics for the LEM, the rovers, the suits, everything.
All recorded on these telemetry tapes. So where is this hard evidence?
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
Your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
We've been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up, and we don't know what path it may have taken. So
They went to the moon 6 times in 3 years between 69 and 72. And now here we are in 2025, and we can't figure out how to go beyond low Earth orbit.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to. The moon, Mars, asteroids.
Low Earth orbit is anywhere between 99 and 1,200 miles away.
So once you know that if you listen to Darius and he's telling you that we didn't go to the moon because it's not a physical place, and then you start seeing all this stuff, you're like, it all lines up. It all makes a little bit more sense.
If we can't get past that, that is a big problem because according to them, the moon is over 230,000 miles away. Like, people really need to start using their minds here. So you mean to tell me we could go 6 times in the late 60s? But we can't even go 1% of that distance now. Like, the only time in recent history where technology has supposedly gone backwards is for that of space travel. And if you can still believe that, you are 100% hypnotized. And then thanks to government propaganda and damage control, the majority are so convinced that anyone who dares even question the moon landings is an uneducated conspiracy theorist. Despite all the red flags from the composite photos, the stage backdrops, the poorly hand-stitched suits, the wires, the harnesses, even captured audio of them staging the event.
And I don't know if he gets to this point, but there's video footage of them blasting off the moon. How the hell would they blast off of the moon? And who's videotaping that? It doesn't make any sense. And then if you look up Mars and you look up, what was the name of it? Devon Island. If you look up Devon Island in Canada, and you look up Mars, you see that they filter a red filter through Mars, but the backdrop mirrors perfectly with Devon Island. They're trying to convince you that Devon Island what they use to show you Mars.
It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11 staging part of their mission for nearly an hour in living color, with exceptionally clear behind-the-scenes audio of conversations discussing the techniques used to achieve a disingenuous picture depicting the Earth at a distance.
We shut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number 1 window, and there isn't any reflected light.
They even have movie props at the scene of the crime. When you actually start to research about the satanic occult origins of NASA, which in Hebrew means to deceive, and the truth of where we live, which is under God's biblical firmament, anyone of sound mind will conclude that space travel is theoretically and practically impossible. And to me, it's exactly this subject of space that makes it so obvious that we are being deceived beyond belief. But the good thing is they make it very easy for anyone who really wants to see the truth. And that's why this topic is the easiest to verify. Because they couldn't fake it then, and they can't fake it now.
And they just start making stuff up. Yeah. Like that Neil Armstrong guy. Have you seen him on the talk shows?
Neil Armstrong, you mean the first man to walk on the moon?
Talk about a fish story.
Yeah.
He went through his shit after he said it. He got silenced or got humbled. They did something to keep, or cloned, I'm not sure what, but Jim Carrey changed his tune a little bit.
Man, and they're buying it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jay Leno and his horrible laugh.
On June 4th...
So then we move forward. I guess we go back a little bit. But this is another example of shutting up the people that are trying to cap the Federal Reserve.
1963, JFK, or John F. Kennedy, signed Executive Order 11110 to restore control of the money supply back to the American people. With the stroke of a pen, JFK stripped the Federal Reserve of its power to loan money to the government at interest and declared that the privately owned Federal Reserve would soon be out of business. Now, within 5 months of doing that, JFK, of course, was assassinated. Then in walks Lyndon B. Johnson, and guess what he immediately reversed?
That dirty dog, Lyndon B. Johnson, man. That was their puppet.
What if the world we're living in now,
So we're going to fast forward to 1971, I believe.
chaos, inflation, surveillance, didn't happen by accident, but by design? And what
So it started in 1913, but there's just so many good people and good businesses, family-owned businesses in the 30s, 40s, 50s that were trying to better America. But the tentacles of this deception started to creep into every aspect of our reality. And now it's completely taken over every single industry. But for a while, we were fighting the good fight of truly trying to bring the American dream to Americans, where there's hope for the future and there's excitement for the future. But that has just slowly diminished, and obviously you know what we're living in now.
What if the starting point wasn't September 11th, or the pandemic, or even the rise of big tech, but 1971? Because that's the year everything changed. That's the year the foundation of global power quietly shifted. The year the US dollar, and by extension, the world economy, was cut loose from reality. No more gold, no more limits. Just paper, promises, and manipulation. Since 1971, the world hasn't gotten better. It's been in free fall. And if you follow the timeline from that moment to today, you won't just find decline. You'll find a coordinated collapse. Let's go back. August 15, 1971. President Richard Nixon goes on TV and says, "I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold." Translation: the dollar was no longer backed by anything real. Money became whatever they said it was, a fiat currency, created by banks, printed by governments, inflated at will. That single move triggered a chain reaction we're still living through. Before 1971, you couldn't just print infinite money. The gold standard kept greed and corruption in check. After 1971, all bets were off. The Federal Reserve printed like crazy. Debt exploded. Spending went wild. And those closest to the money printer got stupid rich. Meanwhile, wages flatlined. Inflation wiped out the middle class. Homes, food, fuel, all skyrocketed. This wasn't a bug. It was the plan. Since 1971, U.S. national debt went from $398 billion to over $34 trillion. Average home prices jumped from $25,000 to over $400,000. Tuition, gas, rent, all up 10 times or more. But wages? Stagnant. You work harder and get less. Because you're not meant to get ahead, you're meant to stay in debt. Swipe, borrow, consume. That's the game. And it started in 1971. Let's zoom out. Before 1971, global currencies were tied to the US dollar, which was tied to gold. After 1971, that system broke, and chaos followed. Now every country could print, inflate, and manipulate their way through the economy. Corporations offshored labor. Governments chased debt-driven growth. Nations became casinos, and greed went global. Manufacturing collapsed. Inequality exploded. Debt became the fuel of progress. Everything became fake, from the markets to the media. But nobody stopped it, because the rich were getting richer. Want to know why September 11th really mattered? After ditching gold, the US needed something new to keep the dollar on top. Enter the petrodollar. America made a deal with Saudi Arabia. Price your oil in US dollars and we'll keep you safe. That deal became the backbone of US dominance. But if you threatened it, you got wrecked. Iraq tried selling oil in euros. War, Libya tried launching a gold-backed currency. Gaddafi dead. Iran? Sanctions for decades 9/11 gave the excuse for endless war and spending, all while defending a fake money empire that couldn't survive scrutiny. Then came 2008. The financial system collapsed under the weight of its own lies. Instead of letting it reset, what did they do? They printed more. Quantitative easing, trillions out of thin air, bailouts for the banks that caused the crisis, and the people? Lost jobs, lost homes, lost hope. While Wall Street popped bottles, fast forward to 2020. A pandemic hits, lockdowns roll in, and guess what? They printed again. $6 trillion dropped into the economy.
And all these are calculated things that they planned. 9/11 was planned so that we would ask them to surveillance us more. And then same for 2020 with the coronavirus. Like, there's leaks of them having this plan years before it actually hit. So like all these are calculated things that they have unleashed on us, and our reaction is what they want us. So now we're asking for it, and then we get so, because of the fear, they have even more control over us, and we asked for it. And we shame the people that oppose it. Like, how could you think that, blah, 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 and it becomes just, it's just so calculated and corrupt. But again, we're not buying in it. We're not buying into it, into the part where it messes with us. We are going to stay strong and work on ourselves. But it's nice to know where it all started.
They claimed it was for you, but most of it went to corporations, not regular people.
BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard.
It went to BlackRock, Big Pharma, Silicon Valley. While you were locked down and distracted, they rewrote the rulebook. Remote work, digital IDs, QR codes, CBDCS, a test run for the next phase, total control, and it all traces back to 1971. Since that year, we've had endless war, endless inflation, mass surveillance, cultural collapse, and a spiritual void no tech can fill. This isn't progress, it's managed decline. They give you screens and take your sovereignty. They sell you convenience and buy your silence. They censor the truth, inflate the dollar, and call it democracy. So what's next? CBDCs will replace cash. Social credit will replace freedom. Digital IDs will replace identity. They'll sell it as progress. But it's just 1971 on steroids. And when the next crisis hits, because it will, they won't offer gold. They'll offer obedience. Comply to eat, comply to live, comply to exist. That's the end game.
We gotta take back over.
So now we ask the question no one in power wants you to ask. Was 1971 the moment the world changed forever? Or the moment it was sold to the highest bidder? You be the judge. If you're awake, you already know what to do. Hit the link in our bio and subscribe to our free underground newsletter.
So we got to start consuming less, start looking for the local grown. I mean, it's small peanuts, but if every single person starts getting on board and stop giving them their power, then we will be able to flip this script. But we need to wake up the consciousness of people that just are tired of it.
Did you know since 2020, there was only 9 countries in the world that didn't have a Rothschild-owned central bank, including the likes of Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, all countries that we've invaded, installed regimes and central banks. And Venezuela just happens to be on that list as well.
Yep, we just did Venezuela.
Isn't that just a striking coincidence? You see, whoever controls the money controls the nation. Because a nation with no private banks, no debt-based currencies, no puppet strings cannot be controlled. All these wars that continue to happen throughout our entire lifetime, they're not about freedom, they're not about democracy. It's about the control of money. When you pay attention, you start to notice the pattern that's at play here. Once the systems start to move in these places, war moves out. This is why we've always been at war with these countries. You need to pay attention to what's happening behind the closed doors, not what they're saying in the mainstream media. This is how you really start to wake up and take your power back. And don't forget to like, share, and follow for more hidden truth. Peace and love.
All right, guys. So that's all I have for you. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't want to get you guys all down and depressed, but I just kind of want you to see where it all started. So thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I hope you guys have a good one. Just let's keep on becoming aware, spreading the information, and working on ourselves. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.